Y'all already know that Houston's original neighborhood downtown is for everyone, and it is poppin' in August with Downtown Houston's Plus most popular events in Market Square Park and Trebley Park, like Blanket Bingo, Movies Under the Stars, the Summer Trivia Series, and Beats and Flow Yoga. You can also enjoy cool treats at these night events from their Market Square Park farmers market vendors and Toot Suite in Trebley Park. Learn more about these great events at downtownhouston.org. Downtown Houston. Get energized and revived.
Make this new school year an opportunity for your kids to learn important life skills with Greenlight. Greenlight is a debit card and money app for families where kids learn how to save, invest, and spend wisely, while parents keep an eye on kids' money habits. Greenlight also helps families get into their fall routine with a chores feature that lets parents assign chores and pay kids allowance when they check them off. Get your first month free at greenlight.com/Spotify. Greenlight.com/Spotify.
Today on CityCast Houston. Trigger warning, I'm about to say 3 words that might upset a lot of people. Homeowners insurance. Our city has been hit with a lot of extreme weather, and that's caused our home insurance rates to skyrocket, and for some companies to stop renewing homes. And don't even get me started on their low payouts when you do make a claim. Houston Chronicle columnist Joy Sewing is going through a homeowner's insurance saga right now, and she joins me to answer this question. Are we about to face a homeowner's insurance crisis in Houston? It's Monday, August 19th. I'm Raheel Ramzanali, and here's what Houston's talking about. Hey, Joy, welcome back in. How are you?
I am great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to talk some homeowners insurance. And it seems like every time I turn on my TV, there's an ad for an insurance brand, right? Like shout out to Jake from State Farm and the OG cavemen from Geico. But have you ever been swayed to go with an insurance provider because of one of these catchy ads?
Actually, I have not. I have been pretty loyal up until the winter storm of 2021? And then I realized my loyalty was not getting me anywhere.
It does not. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because for me, I'm like you, where it's, okay, I just trust my insurance company. Everything is good. These big brands are going to fight for me because they have a lot of money. But it's actually really exhausting dealing with insurance companies. And you've been through the ringer since Hurricane Beryl. First, it was a storm, then no power. What damage have you been dealing with at your house right now?
Well, let's go back to Beryl. Okay, so Beryl comes in with these unbelievable winds and everything, and it rained in every corner of my first floor of the ceiling. And then I had water pouring in from the windows. I had never had that happen, and I think it was just the combination of a horrible storm and all of the wind. And then we were out without power for about 6-7 days, which was no fun. And then I filed a claim. And this is only the second time in the history of my home ownership that I've ever filed a claim. And I had a lot of shingles missing from my roof, all that kind of stuff. And they basically said, you have about $2,000 worth of damage. And I'm looking at mold growing in my kitchen ceiling. I'm looking at all of the water spots where the water poured in. I'm looking at my roof and then all of the missing shingles. And I had my own inspectors come in. And so, yeah, it's been a battle.
So what's the battle been like?
When you're fighting an insurance company, especially a big one, and you know that your damage is more than what they're saying, your only recourse is to possibly seek legal action. And I've been through that, and I don't want to go through that again.
So you filed a claim. You also brought in your own adjuster to make sure, like, what is his damage at to get the proper pricing? What happens next? What'd you do?
What I probably should have done in hindsight is had my adjuster there at the same time that the insurance adjuster was there. I didn't know to do that. But my insurance company was like, yeah, we don't really care. We have our people. We know what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. So, and that's what happened. They sent me this nice little lovely letter saying how much they were willing to give me. Now, mind you, my deductible is $7,000.
Yeah.
And what they offered me was $2,000. So you do the math, you know?
So, like, with that stress and that exhaustion, did you just kind of take it in stride, or are you stressing out? Like, what do you do then?
You know what? I've been through this before. went through this with the winter storm of 2021, which we nearly froze in our house. And I'm not exaggerating. It was extremely cold for so many people, and people died. And at that time, I was with a different insurance company, and I had my kitchen ceiling pipe burst, kitchen ceiling fell through, that kind of thing. They offered me $80. And so I had never sought legal action, and I did at that time for that particular case. But it took 3 years, 3.5 years for it to settle.
Wait, they offered you $80? Is that what you said? 80?
Yeah, that's what kind of what I said to the insurance rep who called me, and I said, "Aren't you missing some zeros?" on the-"
What?
And they were so happy. I was in the pickup line at school, and I was picking up my kids. I'm like, "Oh, you're getting ready to offer me? I get to get my kitchen ceiling redone and everything." They're like, "Yeah, $80."
So you've been through this before, and this time around when they offered you $2,000, what was the reaction? What did you do next?
I just laughed, and I went and binged on a Netflix series, and I wrote a column about that. I can't get upset. I have too much stress. I'm raising children. I don't have the time to get all upset about this. And having been through this before, I know what I don't want to do, and I don't want to go through legal action and all that kind of stuff, because it may work in your favor, it may not. So I am prepared to do the repairs incrementally as I can afford them and do it that way.
Hold on. So you went and binged a show on Netflix with thousands of dollars in damage, the stress of everything, home insurance is lowballing you. I got to ask, like, what show can lift your spirits in this moment, Joy?
Mr. and Mrs. Smith on
Oh, nice. I
on
like it.
you know,
Donald Glover?
it's,
Yep,
yeah, it's a great show.
it
Uh,
is.
I just been through so much with that storm, not having power for that long. You don't know when you're going to get on. And what the ironic thing is that my neighbors got power the next day. So across the street had power, and my side of the block did not have power for another 6 days.
Oh
And
my
that was
gosh.
insane. So, having gone through that, you just don't want to have to go through any more stress. And I have enough stress raising children and a pretty intense job. And I don't want that fight.
I will say you are a better person than me because when I watched Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the entire time, I don't want to give away too much. There's one big scene in there where an entire home is destroyed. And I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, how much is this going to cost to repair? Because it is so stressful. And this is an experience that a lot of people around the city of Houston are having. One of my best friends, he just had pipe burst in his house. And of course, home insurance came in and lowballed him by a lot. Like, this is a major reconstruction project in his house, and they lowballed him. What are you learning about the insurance market right now around the city of Houston? Because it seems like everybody has a story and everybody is going through this right now.
It is. And I think it's indicative of the climate that we're living. Houston is one of the top places for storms. I mean, we get hit left and right. We get winter storms, we get summer storms, we get spring storms. And the insurance companies are saddled with all of the claims that people are filing. And there has been a rise in claims. And it makes it hard. I talked to a friend who was in Atlanta and asked her what she was paying for insurance. And she said something like, "Oh, I'm paying $100 a month." And I'm like, $100 a month? I wish I could pay $100 a month for my homeowners insurance, It's indicative of the climate that we're living in and the number of claims that are being filed in the state of Texas. My insurance company, my former insurance company, because I just switched, the one that offered me the $2,000, it has pulled out of Harris County. And I got a letter about a month or two ago before Beryl happened. That's enough stress there just to know that you have to go shop around for another insurance company. I had an insurance company last year drop me because I had tree limbs on the roof of my house, but I was not notified properly. And by the time I spent $2,000 to get the tree limbs removed, they would not reinstate the policy. So I had to shop around again. It never ends.
Yeah, so you've been dropped by an insurance company. I've been dropped by an insurance company, and it's rough. It's scary, right? And I also saw that the Houston Chronicle found that a major insurer was scaling back on how many policies it renewed. When this happens, what are our options as consumers, as people who live here? Are we just left to search for a new provider, even after we poured in so much money with this company that is now saying, no, we're good, we're out?
Basically, yes. I
Oh,
mean, that really is what we're left with. We're left with trying to find an insurance company. I usually talk to friends and find out who my neighbors have that might be good. And I was referred to through a neighbor to another agency. They seemed good. But here's the thing: the insurance companies are great in courting you, right? It's like dating. They're great in courting you. They give you all the roses, all the bells and whistles, all of the packaging and bundling and discounts until you file a claim. And that's where we see the issue is
yeah.
once you file claims, I mean, it becomes very problematic. I feel like I'm blessed because I did not have a tree fall on my house, and I have friends who've had that, and I didn't have catastrophic damages. So I count my blessings here.
It's such a scary thought, right? Like I'm seeing this right now in other states, California, Florida, even in Louisiana, which is right next door, that some insurance companies are completely pulling out. And a lot of this has to do with climate change. What are the chances of that happening here in our city where companies just completely pull out?
When I did my column, I talked to some experts, and they said that that's not happening here. Texas is still a very competitive market. You still have a lot of insurance companies moving into the market, even though you have some scaling back, that we are not experiencing the kind of pullouts that Florida and California are. So I guess that is a good thing. It doesn't feel like it, but I guess it's a good thing.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel like it at all because it is getting more expensive, right? And that's the other part of this, that as more claims are being made and insurance companies have to start paying out, everything is going to go up in costs, right? Like for me, in our last home, which was a starter home, it was a small home, great for four people. I loved it. It is my favorite home of all time. So many great memories. But when we were renewing our insurance and all of a sudden it jumped almost double, I was like, there's a problem. And I've been talking about it on this podcast. Even though companies aren't pulling out, and in fact, more have come to the state, it is getting more expensive though. And there's no denying that.
Absolutely. And my home was built in the 1930s, 1940s. So the replacement cost for my home would be a lot more expensive. Some insurance companies won't even insure a house that's this old. I don't live in a historic home. I just live in an old house. And here's another thing that I don't know if anybody on who's listening to the podcast has pet insurance, but pet insurance is tied to homeowners insurance and how expensive it is. I have two dogs, and I have pet insurance, which I have loved because they've gotten all kinds of issues. But my pet insurance went up nearly double in July, the premium. When I called to find out, they told me it was tied to your state's insurance claims. And if you have a state that has a large number of claims, then your premiums go up for your pet insurance.
Wait, what's the correlation there? I get it. It's tied to home insurance, but
Because pets are considered property. They're not,
oh my gosh,
yes, they're considered like your home property. So it's tied to, the increases of claims in your particular state.
man.
Who
Such
knew, right? Who knew?
I'm flabbergasted right now because why would a pet's insurance have anything to do with your house? It has nothing to do with it, right? They go to separate places, but everything, it just seems like an excuse for everyone to just raise prices on everything. I want to take a moment here. How about our renters out there? Are their insurance prices going up, or are they safe right now? Do you know?
I didn't look into that. And I know a few people who have rental insurance. I don't know whether theirs have gone up. I can't imagine that they haven't, but I don't know that.
Okay, so if you're a renter out there, please let us know what your experience is. And of course, send us a message on Instagram at CityCastHouston or find the contact info in our show notes.
Landing an account this big will totally change my landscaping business. It's going to mean hiring more guys and more equipment and new trucks for the new guys to drive the new equipment in. I don't know if I'm ready.
You can do this, and Ford Pro FinSimple can help. Our experts are ready to make growing pains less painful for your business with flexible financing solutions that meet the needs of your business today when you need them. Get started at fordpro.com/financing.
This podcast brought to you by Ring. With Ring cameras, you can check on your pets to catch them in the act.
Izzy, drop that.
Or just keep them company.
Aw, I'll be home soon.
Make sure they're okay while you're away. With Ring. Learn more at ring.com/pets.
So you mentioned your friend in Atlanta who's paying $100 a month. Here in Texas, as I mentioned, this is a fact, right? Like State Line reported this, that home insurance rates in Texas spiked 23% last year, which is twice the national average. Now, consumer advocates are saying it's like companies want to do it their way or pull up stakes. What are we supposed to do as consumers? Like, what are the options here? Does this mean we just have to move now, Joy? Are we going to Vermont maybe, which has the cheapest home insurance rates?
Yeah, I think a lot of people after Hurricane Beryl were like, okay, it's time to relocate. I do think that you have to be savvy about your insurance. I think you have to pay attention. It's no longer can we just sit and we have an insurance policy for 10 years with whatever big name insurance company. I think you have to shop around almost yearly and really check your policies and make sure you're covered and everything like that. I think we have to switch around. Loyalty is not a given. It's not something that we're honored for. So why should we be loyal to an insurance company?
You know, I did see that Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick has asked a committee in the Texas Senate to study ways to address the rising cost of insurance ahead of the 2025 session. Do you have any hope that something will actually get done with some government help here?
I don't know. I mean, that's $1 million question too. I hate to be have a dismal outlook, but I don't see that happening. I mean, this is a big business, it's a big industry. Insurance companies make billions of dollars, and to see that them pulling back to help consumers in a major way, I don't know.
I was reading in a lot of states like Florida, where the insurance companies are pulling out, citizens are depending on government-run insurance plans, right? And all that's left is for the residents to find some sort of protection because it is so expensive with the companies that are left to afford home insurance. And that's the only way. I mean, if this starts becoming a trend in every state, especially the ones at risk, right, with climate change the way it has been going, that might be the only solution, it seems like, Joy, is the government will have to run this.
And, we can't depend on that, right?
No, because they're so efficient and run everything so perfectly,
Exactly.
the government.
I mean, it's just like, just the thought of having that and just like, okay, so what if you have a claim, then what? I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
Joy, with everything we just talked about, are we all about to face a home insurance crisis?
Ooh-wee. I have a limited experience in my dealing with my insurance company. I feel like we're already in crisis. And hurricane season is not over. It doesn't end until late November. So if we have another catastrophic hurricane, I think that's going to send a lot of people over the edge in terms of their ability to pay for insurance. And one thing we do know is that if you have a mortgage on your home, you have to have insurance.
It's a scary thought. I can't even fathom another storm ripping through our city and everything we just went through. That would be another layer to watch out for with home insurance. So I'm going to ask you for some advice, all right? For
Me?
all of our homeowners who are listening right now, they are dealing with this struggle. What advice do you have for them?
Oh, wow. I think you have to be diligent when with everything, make sure you document and take photos and all of that kind of stuff and fight as much as you can. There are attorneys who are willing to help you fight that, but please know that if you can go that route, it's not going to happen overnight. Again, it took me over 3 years for mine to settle. Meantime, my house was still not getting repaired. That was the cost of that, right? It's a lot of work on our part, but we have to stay on top of our insurance. We have to shop around on an annual basis, just like you do with your utility companies, just to make sure you are getting the most competitive rate and protecting your property.
And it's so exhausting shopping around. You just want to get it done. But let me give you this advice as well. Take an hour, take 2 hours and run the numbers in terms of worst case scenarios, right? So if it is a 3% deductible, try to calculate those numbers out and see if it's worth maybe putting in a little bit more in terms of an expensive policy to see if the worst case happens, which it could, right? Because if you have to make a claim, you are emotionally prepared to make that claim saying, okay, I ran the numbers. This is the right thing I'm doing, because that's what I'm going through right now with health insurance, totally different. But you have to remind yourself, I ran the numbers when we got this policy and this makes sense and it is okay. So please, please, please do that research now.
Also, pay attention to, like, if you file a claim, it stays on your record for like 3 years.
Yeah.
So if you switch to another insurance company, your rate is going to be higher because they're going to see that you've already filed a claim. And unfortunately, that works against you when you switch to another insurance company. And I found that out. They saw that I filed a claim for the winter storm. So my insurance rate with the new company, which I had to have because my old company pulled out of Harris County, was higher, a little bit higher. So you have to know that.
Joy, for you, there is no second season of Mr. and Mrs. Smith yet, all right? So we don't know what's going to happen.
It's coming.
I hope it's coming. We'll see. That season-ending scene was a little cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Are you ready to binge another series on Netflix while all of this is hashed out? What's next for you?
Absolutely. I want to binge another series, another season of this without the storm. Okay? Can we do that? That's what I want to do.
Amen to that. Joy, thank you again.
Okay. Thank you.
That was Houston Chronicle columnist Joy Sewing. I've linked to her work in our show notes. I would love to hear your experience with homeowners insurance as well. From renewals to filing claims, send them to me via the contact info in our show notes. And please be sure to share this episode with 3 friends and give us a rating wherever you listen. You can also subscribe to Hey Houston, our daily newsletter, with the link in our show notes. Thank you. That will do it for today. I'm Raheel Ramzanali. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something new.
It's a racket. It's a goddamn racket. But go ahead.
Oh, save it. Oh, I know.
Racket.
Oh, yeah.